Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today we're taking a look at from the Transformers Cyberverse Ultra Class line. These are Energon Armor, Clobber, Bumblebee, and Hot Rod. I got these three figures off of Amazon.com where they are available right now. Normally they go for $19.99, but last time I checked, which was a few days after I actually got the figure in hand, Bumblebee's price dropped to around $16.99. Yeah. Gotta love those price algorithms. These are, if you're familiar with the Cyberverse Ultra class, these are simplified figures that transform from vehicle to robot or robot to vehicle and feature some sort of action gimmick. In this line, each figure will have some form of translucent Energon armor. So we'll pause right now and take a look at the first figure, Clobber. Okay, and here's Clobber. Clobber is your basic generic, I shouldn't say generic, but a Decepticon soldier used for comedy relief in the Cyberverse cartoon, I think paired with Lockdown. And its vehicle mode is some form of hover tank, maybe? I say hover tank because there's no wheels on the bottom. Transformation is actually a little bit involved, but not too difficult. The first thing you want to do is separate the arms from the side here. And then there's a double hinge that you want to rotate this up and around so the arms will end up facing backwards that way, just like so. Next, what you want to do is flip the vehicle over so now everything is facing forward this way. You'll unpeg the legs and feet from that back section and bring them straight up. Make sure you're bending at the hips, not at the knees. There are slots there in the feet that will peg into tabs of the underside of the chest. Now you're going to just grab this whole section and using a little bit of force, rotate around the whole waist section, sit the figure up, bring the legs down. At this point, for sake of ease, just go ahead and flip the feet out, snap them in place, separate the legs if they don't do so already, bring this chest piece down, make sure the arms are in position. That will interfere with it. If they're not, it will interfere with it locking into place. And then finally, take the arms and you want to rotate them so the non-hollow side is facing forward. When going to vehicle mode, you want to make sure you rotate them outward so the hollow side is facing towards the figure. Now, to activate the Energon armor gimmick, we're going to come in the top here and pull out the cannon. And that will do absolutely nothing. It's probably because that was me, how it was pulled out. Let's try again. There we go. As you can see, what happens is the cannon depresses a trigger in the back here, which will open up this spring-loaded backpack, allowing the armor to flip forward. You can then close this and lock it into place. Now, to open it, to reset the armor, without using the cannon, there is a little tab right here that if you press back and down, will let you open the backpack. Now, in terms of with the hand cannon here, the packaging and the instructions show it in the left hand. It does fit somewhat loose in the left hand. That might be because it's packaged in the hand and has loosened the grip. The right hand is quite tight and steady. As you can see, though, unfortunately, there is looseness in the hips and knees that as I manipulate this figure, it does cause those joints to move. But once you have it steady and what have you, it can hold somewhat of a pose. Now, to reset the gimmick, go ahead and pull this lever down to open up the backpack. Flip this back, fold that chest waist piece down, swing those parts in. These are all on springs, mind you, and you're going to want to just tuck this in so it falls flat and will close over the backpack. You can continue to hold the gun in the robot's hand, or if you're so interested, you can store it up here up top. Just be aware that if you were to pull it out and your hand is not holding that backpack in place, you will activate the armor gimmick. Let us pause, and we will now take a look at Bumblebee. Okay, and here's Bumblebee. One thing I didn't mention is all these figures are packaged in robot mode. Clobber is the only one packaged with the armor deployed. Hot Rod is packaged with its weapon separate, whereas Bumblebee is packaged with everything contained. Now, most of you are going to be, or who are even looking at these figures, are looking strictly at Clobber, since it is a new character from the cartoon. In my opinion, Bumblebee here is the best of the line. This is a nice representation of its vehicle mode from the cartoon. We are missing paint detail here on the side, the black striping. And I should mention there is some gapping due to the nature of the spring-loaded gimmick. To begin the transformation, what you want to do is do a little wiggle here, a wiggle jiggle, to get these side panels open. You're going to do that also when transforming into vehicle mode. There's really no easy way to do it, and you want to try not to be rough, but just go ahead and do that. Flip the figure around. As you can see, Bumblebee is predominantly already there. Flip the feet out and down. And then there's a hook and slot connection and a couple tabs. So you just want to try to, like, once you get that hook and slot going, everything else comes apart rather easily. So there you have Bumblebee almost basically done. Make sure the feet are straight. Next, what you want to do is come into the side here and bring these arms out, and where you're not going to bring them down just yet, just bring them out to untab them, come around the back, accordion those that back panel down, flip up what was the front end of the car to form shoulder panels, and rotate the arms at the forearm, and that will give you Bumblebee's robot mode. Nice representation here. Unfortunately, there is no leg movement except for that lateral movement due to transformation, but you do have ball joints here in the shoulders and elbows. So get that arms down all the way. To activate the armor gimmick, what we're going to do, and then I will show you how it works as we're doing it, come in the back here and you'll pull back on this spring-loaded panel. Here you can see the armor and its two swords. I was actually concerned that the swords were lost in the packaging, but they were actually stored in robot mode. And the reason being is if you pay attention here to the gray trigger, as I pull the sword out, that will release the trigger, which means upon releasing the second sword and keeping this armor bit out of the way, the armor will flip forward. And what is nice, that there is a blue tab right here. It's translucent plastic, might be a little hard to see, that will peg into a small slot on its waist. It's not tight, but it gets the job done. You can then carefully place the swords in his hand. These are rectangular pegs in a round hole, so they're not going to go in all the way, but it does hold quite nicely. And I have to say, I really like this look. Clearly, Bumblebee is being given a samurai sort of motif, although the swords are more closely imaged or designed to be Energon scimitars, much like what Optimus Primal had back in the Beast Wars cartoon. Now, I did notice, for whatever reason, that Bumblebee has a slight lean forward. I think that might, but the feet are locked into place. I think that's just the natural sculpt of the figure, but still looks very cool. Now, obviously, this is not nowhere near as good as the deluxe class Bumblebee figure, but it's not meant to be. This is a more simple figure with a very fun gimmick. Speaking of which, let's talk about resetting the gimmick. What you want to do first is put the swords back into the sheath. That will push the triggers, the locks, back into place so that the armor will lock into place. And unfortunately, as you notice, if you flop the figure around, that peg will not hold the armor as tightly. So you're going to release the peg, fold it up, fold it up. There is like a little groove here on the armor that the helmet is supposed to fit into, and that will help you peg everything in. That will lock. That should lock. Yes, that locks everything into place. Just get that helmet tucked up into the groove there, and then everything will close up behind it. And there you have Bumblebee back in its unarmored mode. Keep in mind that you have to remove both swords for the armor to trigger. So yeah, now we're going to pause and take a look at the final figure from Wave 1, Hot Rod. Okay, and here's Hot Rod. And unfortunately, Hot Rod, in my opinion, is the weakest figure of this wave. There are some steps to the transformation that are a little needlessly fiddly, and the spring on its armor gimmick isn't strong enough for it to flip out as quickly and strongly as it needs to. But we'll get to that when we get into robot mode. This is a nice, stocky, blocky car mode. Nice update to the classic Mode 0 design. Much like Bumblebee, you stand the car up and there's pretty much Hot Rod. So first step, you want to come in and loosen up the arms here on the forearms. Then come in and bring out the shoulders, and you want to bring them down and out. Next, what you can do is come around the back, separate the legs, and here comes one of the tricky parts. Right here are these little fins that are basically parts of the rear of the car that you want to go ahead and swing down and out. And doing that to get into car mode from robot mode is a little tricky. You can move this panel to get one, but then you're stuck with the other. Next, what you want to do is bring this double section, this back section down. Make sure it hinges properly on both joints, and it will peg into place right there. Finally, you want to just rotate around the back panel. That will trigger the release of its crossbow, which is connected to its gimmick. If you want to go ahead and push that back down to release the crossbow, there is a little button right there. Come back around the front, and there you have Hot Rod in its robot mode. And yes, I do believe the crossbow is a nice little homage to its animated design. But the robot mode isn't that bad. You know, it looks like the character from Cyberverse, but right now I still think the one-step changer is the best version. Now, what will happen when I pull out the crossbow is that whole back section will open up, and I'll show you what the problem is in terms of why the armor doesn't flip out. This is the whole back section, and it just doesn't go down far enough for the clear armor to flip out. So you just give it a little flick with your finger, and there it comes up and around. And much like Bumblebee, on this clear section, there are two slots that peg into tabs on the waist, and you can close that section back up. Now, the instructions show to open it using the crossbow, but if you don't want to use the crossbow, there are these black tabs that if you just pull back on, that will help open it up. And there you go. So The crossbow, there are tabs on either arm that the crossbow can peg into. Oh, if I do it right. And there you have Hot Rod in its armored up mode. Much like Bumblebee, the armor is very samurai-like. I do like this overall design. You do have a little bit of an engine detailing there. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. So, to reset the armor, as I mentioned, the instructions show using the crossbow, but we're just going to go ahead and use the, release those black levers. We're going to come up the front here, fold this panel up. It actually does peg into the chest there. Bring this all the way around, down and back. Let everything just fold flat, and then close up the back section. And there you have Hot Rod back into its normal robot mode. Like I said, I think it's the weakest of Wave 1. I mean, there are some cool bits, but the transformation is a bit fiddly, where it really doesn't need to be. And if the armor gimmick just sprung out faster, I think I would end up enjoying this more. So, we'll pause, and I'll give you my final thoughts. As I said during the course of the review, a lot of you are pretty much only interested in Clobber, since Clobber is a new character, and, a lot of the modern collectors go for the newer characters over the old stalwarts. And that's fine. Clobber is a solid figure. It has the most articulation out of the wave, because you do have the hip and knee joints. It's just that for the play value, I really enjoy Bumblebee, but all three of them have a very unique way to activate the Energon armor gimmick, each using how its weapons are integrated into that activation. I think is kind of cool. So if you're going to get Clobber, especially if you can get Bumblebee for like that $16.99 price point on Amazon, I would say go for 2. Unfortunately, Hot Rod is just a bit too fiddly in the transformation that I can see kids breaking the figure, or collectors breaking the figure, trying to get it into car mode, and that very weak spring on the back hinge really takes me out of it. Well, as I said at the beginning, I got these figures off of Amazon.com. I paid around $19.99 for them, although with Bumblebee, the price has dropped, at least last time I checked, to $16.99. So if you can get lucky, mazel tov. Other than that, this is your old pal Chuck for Clobber, Bumblebee, and Hot Rod. We will see you next time.